Hello, welcome to a new edition of the Right Wing Populist Podcast. I am the Right Wing Populist. So today I want to talk about the drama that is brewing right now in the DOJ between Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Attorney General Pam Bondi. So for those who don't know, there's been a bit of a debacle regarding the release of information regarding the Epstein files. When Trump, shortly when he got back into office, his administration promised they would release all the information regarding Jeffrey Epstein as part of their, trying to meet Trump's campaign promises to bring transparency back to government. And that was part of the orders to, declassify everything regarding JFK, even the assassinations regarding RFK Jr.'s dad, Martin Luther King Jr., and part of this whole idea was to have more transparency and to help, sort of expose government corruption and the deep state. One of Trump's key promises, he said it back in 2023 at CPAC, shortly after he announced he was going to run again. One of the lines that got the most applause at CPAC was, "I will obliterate the deep state." That's what Trump said. He said he would obliterate the deep state. So releasing this Epstein information was just part of that, was part of his campaign promise. Now, to be fair and to be clear, Trump never really explicitly talked about releasing the Epstein files during the 2024 campaign, but he was asked about it by one or two interviews, and he said that he would, he was fine with releasing the information. You could tell it was an issue that he didn't really care about, or at the very least, seemed to not care about. But he did mention that he would look into it and he would do it. And once, he won again, that became a priority, was to release all the information regarding Epstein. Fast forward to a few days ago, the FBI releases this ridiculous statement saying that there was no client list and that Epstein definitely killed himself. And then they released some footage of the outside of his cell, or what they say is the outside of his cell. It's not actually clear. It shows Epstein's cell. Now, everyone knows that this is likely bullshit. Almost certainly bullshit, and that's the problem. This issue isn't going away. As I said before in prior podcasts, Epstein was almost certainly working for Mossad. He was working for Israel and probably U.S. intelligence as well, the CIA. If you look at his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, her father had ties to Israel. He had a bunch of Israeli prime ministers who visited Epstein's island, I believe after his conviction in the late 2000s. Why were a bunch of former Israeli prime ministers visiting Epstein? That's never been explained. But the real explanation likely is that he was likely, we don't know for sure. Part of the whole reason to release everything regarding Epstein is to get full transparency. But based off the fact it's never been clear how Epstein got all his wealth, the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell's father was connected to Israel, the fact that so many Israeli prime ministers, ex-prime ministers visited Epstein's island, and the fact that, the White House releases this bullshit statement when Bibi Netanyahu is visiting the White House, it paints a certain picture. Now, this leads us to what the main topic of today is that yesterday there was reporting that there was basically a big blow-up between Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi. And this broken in several outlets. And I'm going to read you some tweets. Mary Margaret Olahan, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. This is a Daily Wire White House correspondent. And she had this to say yesterday. Breaking. Source close to Dan Bongino tells me it's either him or Pam Bondi, and that he won't stay at FBI if she stays at DOJ. Then she had a follow-up post. More. Source close to DOJ says Kash Patel also wants Pam Bondi gone, and that he'd consider leaving and Bongino leaves. Also that there are more frustrations with other documents Bondi hasn't released. And there's been, more reporting, and it does seem like Bongino's big beef with Pam Bondi is her handling of the Epstein files and lack of release, or the way the information has been released. And, I'll just say this. If I had to choose between, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel over Pam Bondi, obviously I'm going with Kash Patel and Bongino. That's not even a choice. Pam Bondi's useless. She's been a terrible attorney general overall. Today they announced they fired some Justice Department officials who worked for Jack Smith and his prosecution against Trump. That's just happening now because she's trying to cover her ass. Even if there's nothing suspicious in the Epstein documents, the way she's handled it has made it look like there is something suspicious with these documents. I mean, I played the clip on one of my, podcasts this week when she talks about how she was reviewing these Epstein files and that they were on her desk. Now the official Trump administration position is that they don't exist. It's a bit of a contradiction. So Pam Bondi should go. The base wants her gone. I mean, that's clear. Especially you have to choose between Bondi and Bongino. In fact, Megyn Kelly was at a Turning Point event, and this question got brought up, and this is what Megyn Kelly had to say, and listen to the crowd reaction.
Reporting is Bongino or Bondi? He's not.
Who would you guys prefer, Bongino or Bondi?
They want
7,000 to 0.
They want Dan. Of course, Dan. You know why? Because Dan understands MAGA. Dan's part of the MAGA movement. Dan's been an important piece of it and a mouthpiece for really important ideas and an advocate and a fierce warrior. He's been in the trenches. I mean, with all due respect to Pam Bondi, she's been in Florida. She represented the president. It's nice. But do you think she really gets MAGA? I don't think so. She wouldn't have behaved this way if she did. And now it's a time for choosing. It's a time for choosing. I think a point supporting is...
Well said by... Sorry about that last clip I played. So well said by Megyn, and she's right. MAGA is behind Bongino. They're not behind Pam Bondi. And this looks bad. I mean, this has not made the administration look good. In fact, and Trump today released another stupid statement. He's been saying a lot of stupid things lately. I love Trump, but, we have to call him out when he says dumb things. He released a super long Truth Social post about this issue, and I'm not going to read all of it because it's so freaking long. I just, on Truth Social, I guess there's no character limit, or there's practically no character limit, because Trump just posts these super long truths, and it's ridiculous. I think the fact that Twitter had a character limit was a good thing for Trump, because I think it helped him with his sauce. He would have all these amazing tweets, and I think the character limit helped him focus. Now he releases these long statements that are just kind of googly-gawk. But I'm going to read some of what he said, and you'll get the picture. What's going on with my boys, and in some cases, gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on the same team, MAGA. I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, Epstein over and over again. This is ridiculous. We are giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration. And he goes on and on and on. He starts talking about the Russia hoax and the intelligence agents, Trump's usual gripes. So I don't think Trump doesn't understand that this is really hurting him with the base. The base is pissed. Richard Barris, who's one of the best pollster in the country, he's been talking about what he's been seeing in the numbers lately, and Trump's approval is down. And he's claiming it's because of the Epstein files, at least in part. I'm not 100% sold on that. I think it's more likely, I think the Iran strikes has probably more to do with it, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, look, your average person, well, I don't think the Epstein files is going to matter to your average person and how they vote. I do think it makes people look at Trump like, well, the whole reason that we're supposed to be okay with Trump being kind of crass is the fact that he can go up against the system. He has what it takes. The reason why he doesn't, why he talks the way he talks is he doesn't play their game. He's not part of the system. Well, this action, how his administration's handled the Epstein files, makes it look like Trump is part of the system. And that's very problematic for Trump's branding. I mean, it just is. Whether you like Trump or not, he's supposed to be this anti-establishment figure. In the way his administration's handled the Epstein files, it makes him like he's part of the establishment. He's part of the swamp. And that's very problematic for Trump's base and his brand. So what should Trump do? What is the solution to this Epstein problem that his administration has found themselves in? He should fire Bondi. Even if, again, they're not hiding anything, the way she's handled it is ridiculous, so she needs to go. Let's be honest, all she cares about is being on Fox News and bragging about the way she looks for being 60 years old. And yeah, she looks great for 60, but I don't care about what she looks. I care that she locks up criminals. And I'm sorry, leaking that you're investigating James Comey and John Brennan when the statute of limitations for a lot of the crimes you could go after them for is starting to lapse, that's not good enough. So he should fire Pam Bondi and replace her, do a recess appointment with Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is who you originally were going to appoint to Attorney General Donald Trump. Recess appoint him, have him release everything regarding Epstein, or appoint Matt Gaetz as special counsel to review all the Epstein stuff. But we need more disclosure. We need more transparency. Or this already is a bit of a stain on the administration. And I wasn't happy with the Iran strikes, but they ended up working out much better than I thought. I don't see this Epstein stuff working out well the way things are headed, unless we have more disclosure, more transparency, and that's what we deserve. And hopefully that's what we get, or, maybe the haters are right. Maybe Trump really is just a cog in the system, and he is nothing special. I hope that's not the case, but, stuff like this Epstein stuff, and when he makes statements like he did today, and he berates reporters for asking about it, it does make him seem like a typical politician, and that's not what we voted for, and that's not who Trump, I believe, fundamentally is. But he's got to start acting like he is the outsider that he has proclaimed he is for over a decade. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for listening, folks. Please subscribe, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or anywhere else. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.